everyone. Thank you so much for joining. A little bit different format tonight. We're not live with students. It's live in our home. So much is in the heart right now. I lost 3 dear friends in the last week and a half. And it's friends that we've been learning for their refuah shlema, for their healing over the past year. You've heard me mention their names before. One of them is Shlomo David ben Penina. One of them was Brucha at Bat Zlata. And one of them was Shlomo Yitzchak ben Freda. I wish we had enough time for me to give you, for me to just go through a whole shiur just talking about each of these people. But for now, I want to dedicate tonight's learning to all 3 of their memories. I've been thinking this last week that, as painful as it is that I'm so happy that I went through this world knowing these kind of individuals. As painful as it is, I'm so happy that thank God, over the last year or so, I think especially due to what's been taking place the last few weeks, we're realizing that to go through this world, to go through this Gilgul without such a, being shooken up to the core, it would be pretty boring. It would be pretty shvach. So as crazy and painful as it is to go from hospice to funeral to shiva house, I know in my heart of hearts that what it's doing me, it's making me feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world as well. So this should be, right now, this should be for the refuah shlema. For the Ilui Neshama, for the elevation of the soul of Shlomo David ben Moshe, Bracha Elka Bat Choni HaKohen, and Shlomo Yitzchak ben Moshe. For my chaver in Los Angeles, that last name obviously is for Schwartzy, our dear friend Schwartzy. So, when I tell you the truth, when I come to Parshat Yitro, I become extremely overwhelmed. I never know. I never know how to approach it. It's the parsha of the receiving of the Torah. Usually you say, you want to give over a dvar Torah about something. Well, how do you give a dvar Torah about the parsha where the Torah is given? So many years, what we've done over the last probably 4 or 5 years, I'd say most years, what we did was we just tried to understand why the parsha opens up with this name Yitro. Why it's named after that person, someone named Yitro. And why is Yitro, who's basically like the Pope of the whole world, like the Gemara says there wasn't one avodah zarah that he wasn't familiar with, how could it be that someone like him gets this parsha named after him? You'd think if anything, maybe you'd call it Moshe, maybe Miriam, maybe Aaron, but Dafka naming this parsha after Yitro is very, very interesting. So we explained that really meant, that had to do with the fact that the Torah is given to anyone who's willing to change from one corner of the world to the next, and willing to change right away, which is essentially what Yitro is mainly known for. This ability to not care what anyone thinks, since he was very well known all over the world. But B was to not to sit with that thinking of change, not procrastinating, but just going for it right away, going for that change. And that's what we learned for many years. Tonight I want to do something that I never did before. This text from tonight is something that the Midrash speaks about a lot, and we're going to see something really, really interesting. In fact, to make it easier for everyone, maybe I'll post the text in the first comment over here, or if there are any comments here. I will check for a second. Let me see if I could just do that really, really fast. Sorry to keep everyone waiting. So for those of us who are watching us live and obviously watching us later as well, if you want to find us, if you want to follow us, then please follow us with the first text over here, with the first message in the text. So Rabbi Shlomo talks about on Har Sinai this concept that the whole world was invited. And the Midrash speaks about the fact that, the Midrash talks mainly about how when God said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, for those few seconds that God said, I am the Lord your God, there was absolute quiet in the whole world. There was no one could have uttered a thing. In the whole entire world, there was absolute silence. And no one could hear a thing other than God saying, I am the Lord your God. And we all know that when God says something, that word lasts forever. His words don't ever stop. Kol gadol v'lo yosef. It just keeps on reverberating. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, I think I shared it with many of you that we've been learning for a while already. When I was in 3rd grade, I had a Rabbi Tropper, who told us that if you really pay attention really closely, and you, let's say if you get utmost silence in your head, and you pay attention, you listen really intently to what's going on in the world, you can hear Hashem still talking to Am Yisrael on Har Sinai. So I remember finding myself at the age of 9, closing myself in a closet, and I would listen intently, trying to really focus in and zone in. Do I hear Lo tirsach, lo tignov, kabet avicha v'timecha? What am I exactly hearing? So I don't know if that ever worked for me. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but for me that didn't work. But what we're going to be seeing today is what took place right before Mount Sinai. And I think it's going to explain a lot about where we're at in terms of our relationship with the nations of the world in a really beautiful way. So let's go right into the text. So Rabbi Shlomo says like this. I apologize for my voice. I'm just not feeling that well, but I didn't want to miss out on this chance to learn together. So Rabbi Shlomo says that after 210 years of slavery, we're coming out of Egypt, preparing ourselves to stand on Mount Sinai. And how does the portion of the revelation of Sinai begin? By Yishma Yisro. We start talking about Yisro, who was the head of the pagan world. And suddenly Yitro comes and wants to become a Jew. How does this sound to you? Is this a good enough reason to name the portion of the receiving of the Torah after him? It's like this is continuing what we began in the beginning. How we began tonight's learning. Open your hearts. Imagine I spend so much time preparing myself for a certain occasion, and suddenly right before it happens, someone comes and says, I want to join you. And he ends up reaching higher than me and all my preparations. Does that make any sense? It's a pretty good question. I want you to know something so strong. When we say that God invited the whole world to come to Mount Sinai, it was not that God sent out invitations to every person, but there was a certain awakening that took place in the world. The whole world knew that on that day, God will speak to us on Mount Sinai. Now listen to what he says here. This is beautiful. On a national level, we were the only ones who wanted to come. But on a private level, a lot of people wanted to come too. Those private people didn't end up coming because their nation didn't want to come, but their soul was there on Mount Sinai. They are the people who were born later and converted. Their souls really were on Mount Sinai. Sometimes you see somebody who is mamash, a refined person. Let it be clear to you, they wanted to be on Mount Sinai. This is a very interesting statement. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes you see somebody who's mamash, a refined person. Let it be clear to you, they wanted to be on Mount Sinai. You know, when we have we have this problem that when us people that, especially people that were raised in more orthodox settings, so we don't know what to do. And I'm speaking as someone who grew up in those circles. We're not really sure what to do and how to deal with the fact that we meet some really beautifully refined and deep neshamas that aren't Jewish, have nothing to do with Yiddishkeit, but we're told that the only way that any person can become pure is through the Torah. So this sentence, it really makes a lot of seder with that train of thought. Let it be clear to you, they want, sometimes you see somebody who's mamash, a refined person, so let it be clear to you, they wanted to be on Mount Sinai. Yisrael came as a delegation of all the non-Jews who wanted to come to Mount Sinai. for one reason or the other. Some of them didn't make it. Maybe they did in another lifetime. I'm not judging. I have no idea. But there had to be one non-Jew coming to represent the non-Jewish world. So here we're saying what Rabbi Shlomo is doing with this piece now is very different than whatever we've seen in previous years. Where in previous years we were talking about Yitro as the individual. That this parsha is named after him on an individual level for the individual changes which he implemented within himself. However, tonight what we're saying is something a little bit different. We're saying that he was kilo the shliach of all umot ha'olam, of all the nations of the world. He came representing the whole non-Jewish world. And we still haven't figured out fully how to deal with that. And there are many reasons, for good or for bad, why that's like that. One of them is that 2,000 years of exile could threaten you. They could be very threatening. And as much as we know we're supposed to love the world, it's a very threatening thing to take our guards down. And that's not really on us. I don't like, it'd be very chutzpahdik to say that's on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but considering what we've been through, it's a very, very difficult thing to be able to truly let down that guard and say, oh, come, this is for you too, this is for you too. Especially that specific thing that we are also taught that God invited the whole world, but they were too scared to come because if a few of them wanted to come from different nations, so the majority of the nation would probably stone them to death. Like we see today in different areas of the world in Islamic countries where there are certain individuals that truly know the difference between emes and sheker. They truly understand that the sanctified death cannot be anything holy. There cannot be anything godly or holy about such a concept. So, but what happens is if they want to come out and join us, or they want to put out word that there's someone with you, look what happens to them. I don't even want to mention in my home, even live with you, I don't want to even mention what happens to people like that. But there is this concept that since the time of the giving of the Torah, the parsha of the giving of the Torah is named after someone who wanted to be there and came as a shaliach to let us know most people in the world probably are with you. We just don't have enough koach. We haven't figured out yet how to let you know. And for thousands of years, what's happening, we're going to get seesaw back and forth, that there are all these attempts to let us know that we're with you. We're back at Mount Sinai. We want to come back there with you. We just don't know how. So this is what the second piece over here is going to be addressing. Friends, there's still some sweet and holy rabbis who think we can live in a world without non-Jews. The truth is, we're living in a world where we have to bring the message to the rest of the world. The Gemara tells us that before God gave us the Torah on Mount Sinai, He asked the whole world to accept the Torah, but no one showed up. Just us Jewish people. So the deepest question is, didn't God know that the other nations would decline before they actually said to God, no thank you? Right? Obviously Hashem knows what's going to be. Yodat Talum, you know everything. You know all the mysteries. You know what's going to be, what was, and what's happening right now. So if God knew that, why would He even invite in the first place? So Rabbi Shlomo says there are thousands of answers. But I want to share this one with you. Now listen very closely, Chevra, this next paragraph is crucial. Whatever we know that God has done, He never stops doing. What does that mean? It's not that before Mount Sinai God was begging the world to receive the Torah, but that He eventually took back that invitation. He's still begging the world to come. So you see what He's saying over here? If there was an invitation that was once sent out to the world, that invitation, even though it wasn't answered then, that invitation, when God does something, it's still out there, waiting for the world. So Rabbi Shlomo says, so what does that mean? Do you know what this means? So when I receive the Torah on Mount Sinai, I become God's voice to the world, and I'm asking, can you please receive the Torah? me, little humble brother me, little sister me, each of us that are alive today, February 2017, when we, this Shabbos, are going to go to shul and we hear God, the 10 Commandments, and we listen to the Torah, and once again we say Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do, we will obey, and we will listen. At that point, we become God's microphone in the world. And then we can extend, what happens is we can extend that invitation further right afterwards. But how do you know if a person's really, really God's voice as spokesman or not? Very simple. If the spokesman is there to let everyone know, listen, you're about to go to hell if you don't do this, then you're not plugged into God's invitation. God's invitation never ceases to exist. It's always there. There are other voices in the world that are, so to speak, godly voices, who in the name of God say, this invitation we're extending to you, if you don't join it, you're toast. But our concept of being one with the invitation and extending the invitation is that when I become, so to speak, God's voice, and I extend that hazmanah, that invitation to people, then I let God's word be a little bit louder in the world and extend a little bit longer into certain people's consciousnesses. I was thinking about this in a very deep way, about this concept of hazmanah, that in Hebrew, the word for invitation is an invite, is hazmanah, is to invite someone. And in the Torah of Ishbitza, in different Rebbes as well, they explain that hazmanah, ready, really is the clearest definition of Kedusha. It says, Kedusha hu lashon hazmanah. Holiness really means, are you ready? And inviting someone is the language of, I'm inviting you to be ready to do something holy with me. It's not that I'm holy, I'm inviting you to join me, but it's rather, I'm inviting you to join me in doing something holy. And that's what we have to remember, that no matter how high people are, when they walk around with God's voice, they don't walk around saying, I'm here, come join me here. They're saying, Ani mazmin otcha liot iti. I'm inviting you to come and be with me here, and let's go up together. And that's the extension of the invitation that the world is so hungry for. Now, it could be that at a certain point in Jewish history, when people did speak in the name of God, forget about now people speaking to other Jews. When people spoke in the name of God to other nations, it could be that there really was this sense of, listen, we're here, and on a good day, you guys are over here. So no one felt that no one heard the invitation. No one felt that there was anything coming together. Now, obviously, that's very true when it comes to many people within the Jewish religion as well, that when they speak, they don't make you feel like they're with them at all, unfortunately. But here, what he's saying over here, when I receive the Torah on Sinai, I become Hashem's voice to the world. I become I sound completely different than that. And here he says the next sentence is so beautiful. If I receive the Torah and I say the hell with the world, I didn't hear God's voice either. If I say the hell with the world, it means I didn't hear God's voice either. Meaning, if I am a Jew who took upon himself all the Torah and mitzvahs, and I'm so soaked into my learning, and I'm so much one with my daily routine of all the halachas that I must keep. There's no exemptions. Everyone, the world of halacha is for everyone, and to learn and to swim in it. We're not saying not to, but if with that, there's a voice that comes out of you that says, what the hell with the world? You weren't on Sinai. You weren't there. You didn't hear God's voice either, Rabbi Shlomo says. Sadly enough, he says, we never had a chance to really carry out this message. For 2,000 years, us Jews were not heard. The world wanted to kill us. They surely didn't want to hear us. But right now, the world wants to hear us. They really want to hear us. Now listen to the next statement. But they don't want to come to shul and hear about freedom, liberty, or other universal concepts. They can hear that somewhere else. They want to hear about Pesach, about Shabbos, about Purim. Now this is once again, this is simply a brilliant move, what he did over here. Absolutely brilliant. Because up until the last paragraph, you're thinking this is the most liberal, universal approach to Mount Sinai and to the way I'm supposed to live today. And the way that I'm supposed to live today with the nations of the world is to talk their language in order to bring them to Mount Sinai. But Rabbi Shlomo was saying this in the 70s, where he started seeing, this was in the middle of a class he was giving on a college campus, I believe, and he was saying that what saddened him was that he sees people that are sweet souls, holy souls, that want to bring achdus, they want to bring oneness to the world, and they truly are very strong in interfaith. But what they were missing was that if nations of the world are finally coming together, that the non-Jew who's coming to the Jew is not coming to the Jew to hear his take on what universal freedom is that deep in his heart, the non-Jew wants to hear what Pesach is. He wants to hear what Shabbos is all about. He wants to hear what the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKain is. He wants to hear what the mitzvah of Talmud Torah is truly all about. They can hear, Rabbi Shlomo says, they can hear all that somewhere else. They want to hear about that which maybe for 2,000 years we didn't have a chance to share with them. Because if I was kept keeping Shabbos, that's all they needed to hear in order to know I need to be thrown into a gas chamber, or I need to be gunned down in some pogrom. But now, there's definitely here a chance. Now it's like it's a very fragile, delicate state of mind that the world is in, really for the last 70 years. Do you look back at the world and say, after what you put me through, the hell with the world? Or after everything we went through in the world, do you come out and saying, now I could finally tell you what we're really all about? Which connects us to a beautifully mind-blowing teaching that we learned last week. As we were leaving Egypt, we were learning this, I think, with the Israeli Chavra in Hebrew, so we didn't get a chance to learn it over here last week. But last week, we were learning that at a certain point while we left Egypt, especially that last night, one of the most incredible parts incredible moments of leaving Egypt was when the Egyptians saw us the night that we were leaving, and they stopped for a few minutes of mamish hating us, absolutely hating us, and they looked at us with such love. And in fact, the Torah uses a word, I think the Torah uses the word re'ehu, when it comes to the relationship between an Egyptian and a Jew. There was something changed in the Egyptian the night as we were leaving Egypt. What changed? So the Torah says that when we left Egypt, the pasuk is a beautiful pasuk. It says, "Uvnei Yisrael yotzim beyad Ramah." That when we left Egypt, we left Yad Ramah. Literally means an elevated hand. The Targum, the Onkelos says, "Bereish Gale," with our heads lifted up, or our heads revealed. But whatever it is, however you understand the whole concept of Yad Ramah is that they saw that we had every reason to completely bash them and kill them and shech them. After 210 years of slavery, it would have been a perfect opportunity for us to come up to an Egyptian and say to him, "What you've done to me, what you've done to my whole family, the hell with you." When in fact, what happened? Uvnei Yisrael yotzim beyad Ramah, the Midrash says we were almost waving to them. So how could that be? It's because at the moment when a Yid realizes what he's really all about, who he really is, he remembers that no one had dominion over him. None of his slave masters. And therefore, to say the hell with the world would be completely forgetting everything about what God was grinding into Am Yisrael during their slavery and during their hardships in life. So too, it could be over here that we're stuck in this it's a very delicate place, a very hard place, where on the one hand we have to know who our enemies are, and on the other hand we have to somehow trust who our friends really are and who wants to be our friend. It's such a difficult place to be in. It's such a difficult place to be in. For that you really have to cry. You have to cry very, very, very strong for such a thing. Well, one of my favorite teachings on this parsha was actually in the form of a song. And I want to sing it for you. In order to know really who wants to be our friend and who's our enemy. So on Shabbos, on Musaf, we say the following words. Beautiful words. Hu Elokeinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Moishienu. Hu Elokeinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Moishienu. Vehu Yashmienu, Berachmav Sheni. Sheinis leyene kol echai. Sheinis leyene kol echai. Liyas lachem leloki. This is how Rabbi Carlebach used to sing these words. You spoke to us once on Mount Sinai, but the whole world did not hear you. So we are asking you, Almighty, Vehu Yashmienu, Berachamav Sheni. Speak to us just once more. Speak to us just once more. Let us hear your voice just once more. But this time, le'enei kol chai, let the whole world see it. Let the whole world hear it. And we promise you, li'ov lachem le'elokim. We promise you that the whole world will know that you are there, that you are our God. Liot lachem le'elokim. Ayed what we're asking Hashem is, we're not really as good as we could be. If we knew how to carry your microphone, if we knew how to be your spokesperson in the world, we wouldn't need you to speak to us once more. We wouldn't need you to let the whole world know that it's real, that Mount Sinai was real. So when we're asking God, speak to us just once more, we know already that we're never going to go back to Mount Sinai. So possibly what it means is, speak to me, the individual, once more. Let me hear you one more time deep inside so I could truly know how to talk to the world, so I could know how to talk to myself, but so that I could be what we call a shaliach ne'eman, a faithful emissary, a faithful servant who knows how to carry his name out to the world. And we're learning right now in the Mishnah about the Gemara's, Mishnayos, which speak about a shaliach for a get or a shaliach for a kiddushin, to be an emissary to Chalila for divorce, and a shaliach where it could be a shaliach for weddings as well, to get someone married. Like the second chapter in the Gemara Kiddushin starts, Aish mekadesh bo bishlucha. So I once heard a fascinating Torah from the Rizhiner Rebbe. The Gemara says, Aish mekadesh bo bishlucha, that man can sanctify a woman on his own or through a shaliach, which I know to us today sounds pretty insulting, but back in the day, I guess it wasn't that easy to see each other, and you have to travel God knows how long in order to see the person you were gonna end up getting married to. But the point of there is that it's possible. Halachically, it's possible to sanctify someone through a shaliach. So the Gemara says, "Haish mekadesh boy bishluch hashta bishlucha mekadesh." So the Gemara says, it asks, we can sanctify a woman through a shaliach. Bo mibaya. We want it to be through him. So the Rishon, meaning through the husband himself. So the Rishon Rebbe says something so beautiful. It says, "Aish mekadesh bo bishluch." Yes, God, you can sanctify us through many different shluchim. You can send us torahs by many different rebbes to come and explain to us what Mount Sinai meant and what it was all about. But really, in the heart of every Yidden, no matter how low they think they are, or how high they think they are, each one of us is saying the same two words, Bo mibaya. We want it to be you. We want it to be from you. We want the words that pierce our hearts. We want it to be able to once again be reconnected, revitalized in such a piercing way, in a way that lasts. We want it to be from you. As thankful as we are for all your shluchim, we want it to be from you. Please God, I give us all a bracha, and give me a bracha back, that we figure out a way how to pray to Hashem, that we should know who our enemies are that need to be wiped out, that they're not interested in Mount Sinai. And that us Jewish people should find a healthy and safe way to really connect to all those neshamas, all those souls who really wanted to be at Mount Sinai, but for whatever reason it was, they didn't make it. And hopefully we'll all take great pride, great, tremendous pride in being God's microphone to the world. Have a good Shabbos, have a good week. Only good news, everyone.